So as I've grown in my 20s, one of the biggest changes in my life has been the way that I spend money, because even as my income has increased over the past few years, I've noticed that I've actually stopped buying certain everyday things that I used to buy all the time. And cutting these things out of my life is not even completely about saving money, even though it does help me to do that, but it's really just about being more purposeful and conscious with my spending habits. So the first thing that I've stopped paying for is something that honestly kind of makes me feel like an outsider as a guy in my 20s, because I see so many other guys my age wasting money on this, and that is sports betting. Now, in recent years, betting on sports has been booming in the US, and you can clearly see this growth whenever you turn on the TV to watch any kind of game, because all you see nowadays are all these commercials and sponsorships for brands out there like DraftKings and FanDuel. And all this growth has really only been over the past 5 years or so as more and more states have legalized sports betting. Now, I think I sort of have a unique perspective on this because guys in their 20s are a huge target demographic for these brands out there, and I've basically lived through my 20s as a member of this demographic, while at the same time, the whole legal sports betting industry grew from being nothing to pretty much this huge, massive, normalized thing it is today. So because my friends and other people my age talked about this stuff a lot, naturally I tried it out just a few years ago, and it seemed fun and exciting at first because I liked watching sports, and now I felt like I had this financial incentive to watch games and root for certain outcomes. But as somebody who's also obsessed with personal finance, I started to see sports betting for what it really was, which is obviously gambling, whereas other people my age saw it as more of a hobby and a social kind of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against people out there who do choose to bet on sports. However, what I am against is people who are not doing it responsibly, because let's be honest, gambling can be addictive, and most people get into sports betting expecting that somehow they're gonna actually make money from it. But to me, the only right way to bet on sports is to pretty much only do it for fun if you expect you're gonna lose, and if you can actually afford to lose 100% of what you bet. That's because you really have no influence over what's gonna happen in these games that other people are playing. So I've just decided that I'm gonna completely opt out of betting on sports entirely, and instead just save the money and bet on myself instead by putting my cash towards things that I actually do have control over, like my business. But again, no harsh judgment for anyone that does choose to bet on sports. I just think that people need to put a bit more thought into how they're approaching this kind of thing, because this industry is clearly not going away anytime soon. Now, another thing that I've stopped buying recently are actually cheap clothes and shoes, and I wanted to talk about that here because for the longest time I thought that I was really saving money by doing all my shopping at TJ Maxx, Marshalls, or at different outlet stores. So I'd buy shirts and pants that were maybe like 10 or 20 bucks each, and then shoes that were maybe $60 per pair. And for a while it seemed fine because I felt like that was what I could afford. However, what I noticed was that these cheap clothes just wouldn't last as long because they'd shrink too easily, or the stitching would come undone, or even sometimes the styles would get quickly outdated. So over the past 2 or 3 years, as my income started to slowly increase, I started to buy stuff that was just slightly more expensive, with shirts and pants that were maybe $50 to $60 each, and shoes that were as much as $150 to $250 per pair. And at the same time, I also put a big emphasis on buying stuff that had a much more minimal and timeless look with no visible logos or branding for the most part. Now, what I found by doing this was that my clothes and my shoes were just a much higher quality, the fit was a lot better, and the material would even last a lot longer. Plus, because my style is now more of a minimalist kind of thing, I don't really have to think that much about what I'm gonna wear whenever I leave my apartment or go to film a YouTube video. And also now I don't really have to shop around for new clothes nearly as much as I used to. Personally, for clothes that I like to wear, I really like brands like Lululemon for workout clothes whenever I go to the gym every day. I wear these minimal looking melon hats, and then I've got maybe like 3 pairs of some basic jeans from Express. And then for shirts, I'm always wearing ones like this, which is from Cuts Clothing, which I also wear in pretty much all my videos. And I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link for these down below because I actually get a lot of questions and comments about where these shirts are from. So that link should give you guys some sort of a discount, but yeah, Cuts Clothing, great shirts, really good fits, so go ahead and check them out. So when it comes to clothing and shoes, I'm definitely a big believer in buying quality over quantity now, because I definitely think that paying for quality is well worth it. And honestly, I feel like it saves me money and some time over the long run as well, because it definitely decreases the amount of shopping that I have to do. Now, the third thing that I've stopped buying is something that normally is meant to protect the one thing that we all carry with us everywhere in today's world, which is our smartphone. So what I've stopped buying is cell phone protection plans that Apple and my phone carrier are always trying to sell me. Now, I think it makes sense to have at least some sort of insurance on my iPhone, because otherwise it's gonna cost me up to $1,100 to replace it if it breaks or gets stolen or something like that. So as a Verizon customer, I could pay as much as 17 bucks extra per month to get their plan, or I could take advantage of a free credit card cell phone protection benefit that certain cards in my wallet offer. Now, not every credit card has this, but if you have a premium card like the Amex Platinum, Capital One Venture X, or Chase Ink Business Preferred, for example, or even if you have certain no annual fee cards like the Bilt Mastercard, MasterCard, Chase Freedom Flex, the SoFi credit card, Wells Fargo Autograph, or the Wells Fargo Active Cash card, to name a few. All those credit cards right there are gonna come with some sort of a complimentary cell phone protection benefit. Now, the coverage on each card is gonna vary, so make sure you go ahead and do your own research and pay attention to that stuff. But personally, I use the Chase Inc. Business Preferred to make my cell phone payments every single month. And by doing that, that qualifies me to be covered for theft and damage of up to $1,000 per claim for a maximum of 3 claims in a 12-month period with a deductible of only around $100 per claim. To me, breaking my phone or having it taken by theft is a worst case scenario that probably isn't too likely to happen anyway, but by having that cell phone protection benefit with my credit card, that sort of helps to give me at least a little bit of peace of mind without paying anything extra for it. Now, next here is sort of a travel hack that I've been using lately to save some money on food. So the fourth thing that I've mostly stopped buying is breakfast when I'm traveling, and I'm not just skipping breakfast because of course that is gonna be the most important meal of the day. So what I do instead is I take advantage of hotel loyalty programs that come with a free breakfast benefit. And if I'm staying with a chain where I have a certain level of status, then I'm able to get that breakfast covered and included with my stay, which can save me around 30 bucks per day if I'm traveling alone, or maybe as much as 60 bucks per day if I'm traveling with Jackie. Now, I currently have Hyatt Globalist status that I got last year by completing a Built Rent-A promotion that I learned about by having the Built MasterCard. And one of the biggest benefits, among a few other things, from having this Globalist status is a free breakfast benefit. So for myself and Jackie, we've stayed at Hyatt's in places like Paris, London, and Atlanta over the past 3 months or so, and we've been basically able to save hundreds of dollars on breakfast by just taking advantage of our status. For other hotel chains like Marriott and Hilton, for example, you can also unlock certain statuses that give you a free breakfast benefit as well. And for these 2 hotel programs, all you really need to get status is actually just the right credit card. So to get Marriott Bonvoy Platinum Elite status, you can get the $650 per year Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant American Express card. And to get Hilton Honors Diamond status, you can get the $550 per year Hilton Honors Aspire American Express card. Now, with those credit cards, obviously the annual fees are pretty high, so you gotta make sure that you're really planning to stay enough at those properties each year if you travel a lot for work or personal reasons, so that you're getting the full value of the benefits that are included. And also for the free breakfast thing with any hotel program, it usually does vary by property, and sometimes you might just get a food and beverage credit instead. So again, just do your own research and decide if status is gonna be something that is worth pursuing for you. But yeah, for me, it's been definitely one of my favorite parts of being a Hyatt Globalist so far. Okay, the next thing that I've stopped buying here is another thing that I've just cut out while traveling, and that is going to be souvenirs like t-shirts or little gadgets and mugs and stuff like that. So we pretty much never buy souvenirs anymore, except for one thing that Jackie and I do still like to get everywhere we go. So back when I first started seriously traveling when I was like 22 or 23, I would just always buy shirts and sweatshirts from all these local souvenir shops because I thought that maybe, you know, it'd be cool to collect these and then just wear them later on to remind me of that trip. But after going to Ireland and buying like 6 shirts and then going to San Francisco and Cape Cod and buying another 3 or 4 shirts, I kind of quickly learned that this was not only gonna be a waste of money, but also a waste of space in my closet. I pretty much never wore any of those shirts, and they also just kind of fit me terribly because I'm really tall and I've got long arms and everything, so it just looked very baggy. So again, like I said before, I realized that sort of buying higher quality and minimal clothing was the better approach for me compared to just buying more clothes. So eventually I just donated most of the shirts, kept a few, but then decided that I was gonna just stop buying any other types of souvenirs. And that's because it's really the experiences and the photos that I take that really make the traveling worth it for me anyway. Now, Jackie and I do still like to reminisce about our trips. So one way that we like to do this is through buying a cheap $10 to $20 ornament from all the places we go to. That way, about once per year for around a month around Christmas time, when we put up our tree, we can just look at all those ornaments right there and enjoy the memories that they represent. So yeah, that's kind of a fun little thing that we like to do, and I know a lot of other people do a similar kind of thing. Now, kind of going along with not buying souvenirs other than Christmas ornaments anymore, another type of shopping that I've basically just completely cut out of my life is shopping for sales. And again, at first that kind of sounds like I'm against saving money because usually that's what sales do, is they give you discounts. But to me, there's a clear difference between getting a discount from a sale and shopping for discounts from a sale, and most people are doing the latter, which I think can be kind of bad, so let me explain. Now, one of the biggest times of year for companies to run sales is obviously around the holiday shopping season and Black Friday. So you'll see websites like Amazon hype up all their limited time deals and their bargain prices, or you'll see maybe Best Buy offering these doorbuster sales on TVs that are gonna sell out fast. But at a basic level, what these sales are really designed to do is increase demand by creating a sense of urgency. Not only do do limited time sales just force people into making a purchasing decision sort of on the spot, but they also get people in the door or onto the company's website where they can then upsell you on other stuff they offer. So the problem really comes from people actively just shopping for discounts just because there's a discount sale going on. So for example, even if you buy something that normally costs $100, but you see it's on sale for $60, you didn't save $40, you still spent $60 that otherwise you might not have spent, and now your bank account is going to be $60 less. Now, if you were already going to actively buy that item and then you show up to the store and then you see that it's on sale, then that's a little bit different. But it's a very fine line between getting a discount like that on something that you are already going to buy and actually shopping for discounts just because you saw an ad on TV for a sale that's going on. And that's kind of my main point here. I actually got asked to comment on a CNET article this past Black Friday, and one thing that I mentioned in the article that I wanted to quickly show you guys here is that buying used, certified refurbished, or even buying last year's model is always an option. And sometimes buying stuff that is not the latest and greatest can still get you really good deals at any time of the year, not only around Black Friday. So what I would say with sales is that when you see them, just go ahead and take a step back and maybe give yourself 24 hours to think about if you were really going to buy that item anyway, and then maybe consider other ways that you can save instead through buying used or buying previous year's versions, because there's a lot of other options out there. Now, another thing that I've stopped buying are supplements other than just a good simple protein powder, which to me is more like food anyway. But I used to buy all these pre-workouts, fish oil pills, and all this other stuff that I'd hear about online back when I was in my early 20s. What I've sort of noticed is there's this trend out there where people go and show off and then talk about all their supplement stacks on social media and how it's making them better people. Or you'll hear all these podcast bros or so-called experts on these podcasts telling people what is and is not necessary to consume as supplements if you want to get in good shape. But for this, what I've learned is that no supplement is going to replace the two most basic things that go into living a healthy life, and that's simply diet and exercise. Now, I'm not an expert in health and fitness, but I do make it a big part of my everyday routine. And what myself and many others have found is that if you want to get into good shape, all you have to do is go out and do some cardio, some resistance training, or at least some exercise. And if you want to lose weight, then all you have to do is consume less calories than you burn, or the opposite is true, where if you want to gain weight, then you have to consume more calories than you burn. Now, obviously, some people have different medical conditions that can impact them on an individual basis, but in general, just following that very high level advice is going to help you with like 95% of your progress. And then after that, maybe the other 5% or so can be the really specific stuff that includes supplementation. But the point here is just don't focus on the small 5% as much here, because there's no magic pill. Just focus on the 95% with diet and exercise instead, because that's gonna have the most impact, and it's also gonna actually save you the most money from not buying a bunch of pills and unnecessary powders. Now, another different thing that I've just stopped buying and stopped giving to people lately are gift cards, because when you think about gift cards, they're basically like an interest-free loan that you're just giving to the company that you buy the gift card from. So I remember a few years ago, I got a $100 Dick's Sporting Goods gift card for my birthday, and honestly, for about a year and a half, it just sat right here in my desk drawer, just being completely unused and almost actually forgotten until I cleaned out my desk and found it one day. And I would bet that many of you watching this have also had a similar experience at some point with a gift card of your own. The truth is, the companies out there are almost counting on people forgetting about these things just like that. It's funny because I've noticed that every now and then, the same exact story about Starbucks just pops up on social media, where a content creator explains how Starbucks is actually the world's worst bank. So for example, here's an article where they're talking about some content that Vivian from Your Rich BFF created. And what's being said is that Starbucks has about $1.6 billion in outstanding gift card balances, meaning that customers either buy physical gift cards or they load money into their Starbucks app. And then the total of those gift cards is billions of dollars, which Starbucks gets up front. They pay zero interest on that, and they essentially just pay that off in coffee as people redeem their gift card balances. But the worst part is that Starbucks and other companies out there, they know that a very high percentage of those gift cards will not be redeemed at all. And there's actually a term for this, which is called breakage, where basically this just represents pure profit for the company. So yeah, because gift cards are just a little bit too easy to forget about, and they can also only be used at one specific place. Now what I do is I just Venmo my siblings for the birthday, or I'll go ahead and buy an actual gift depending on the occasion. So basically, I become less of a fan of gift cards as I've gotten older. I've also stopped paying for cable TV, which honestly always felt like a huge waste of money, because as I was growing up, we'd get these 500 channel packages and then only ever watch like 5 of those channels. And this has been something that's been easier and easier for people to do in recent years, as streaming platforms and YouTube have sort of become now the new main source of entertainment in today's world. Now, Jackie and I do pay for Hulu Plus Live TV because we still like to watch mostly live sports games like the Sixers and the Eagles, or in her case, the Patriots. But luckily with this, we're able to save about 20 bucks per month in the form of a credit that I get by paying with my Amex Platinum card. That's because there's a $20 digital entertainment credit on that card that we get every month, which works with Hulu. And actually, just to be clear here, we don't really view that credit as saving money, but it's really just a value add that makes the cost of my Amex Platinum a lot easier to justify because we're already spending money on Hulu anyway. Also, something else that I wasted money on all the time in my early 20s that I've finally eliminated are bank fees. This is something that honestly I'm so mad that I didn't fix earlier because it literally costs nothing to avoid bank fees like ATM surcharges, minimum balance penalties, and stuff like that. And all you really have to do is just learn how to find the right bank accounts. So back in college, I used to withdraw cash before I went out with friends, and I would use a Wells Fargo debit card to withdraw cash from a TD Bank ATM because it was just right around the corner and easy to access. But what that would do is that would trigger a $3 surcharge every time I used that ATM. And I'd pretty much withdraw cash almost every single weekend for my last 2 years of college, so that added up and it was basically like I was just burning money for no reason. Instead, I could have opened a free Schwab investor checking account because that account comes with a debit card that gives customers unlimited ATM fee rebates for cash withdrawals worldwide. So now if I'm ever carrying a debit card with me while I'm traveling, this is the card that I use. Or for other friends back in college, I remember sometimes they get hit with these minimum balance fees where their bank would charge them if they did not have a certain amount of money inside of their account. But now there's so many other options out there for banking in today's world with no fees or no minimums. And on top of that, there's even some high yield savings accounts that will actually pay you as much as 4 to 5% APY just by holding your cash with them. So if you want to get rid of fees and learn more about some of the best bank accounts out there right now, then definitely make sure you go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.